2, 3, 4. Down to the VHS. VHS out of the VHS. It's the 18 of my face. I'm down and outside doing stuff. No easy Wi-Fi blemishes, but I guess that's the way it goes. Down to the VHS. VHS out of the VHS. Got no money, smoking crack, saving up for the Betamax. Down to the VHS. VHS out of the VHS.
Hello.
And welcome to Obscure Take Time.
It's very dark today.
It is very dark. Pull light. It's rainy and cloudy outside. The show where we watch VHS in their entirety and invite you to suffer along with us. Yeah.
Well put.
Well.
Yes, welcome.
What's that?
What?
Yeah. Is that the microphone? It is. It's the microphone. Okay. Sorry.
Oh, so it is. Interesting. I wonder if that's been there the whole time. We just haven't noticed.
Probably.
Or whether I've moved the camera too much. Now it's positioned itself slightly lower.
Ooh.
Slowly moving towards crotch shots.
Oh, perfect.
Now we're a bit brighter.
In our disposition or just the light?
Just the light.
Oh, you can't fix the other one.
Not yet.
It's cold. I got my jacket on.
Sometime in the next couple months, we'll probably take a week or two off, and that should recharge the batteries.
Oh, whenever you need to. Well, what have you been doing?
So much and so little at the same time.
Oh, yeah?
It's kind of wild.
Wild.
Yeah,
Like what?
exactly.
Anything you want to talk about?
Not really.
Oh,
Nothing notable.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, no, I've been, wasting my time.
Wasting your time?
Productively wasting my time.
Well, as long as it's productive. But nothing
Exhausting myself.
that can be talked about.
Nothing that's really worth talking about.
What? Everything's worth talking about. It's all content.
I mean, it's not really when it's the usual stuff, like taking care of my child.
Well, this is where
drinking
you
alcohol.
need to carry around a little pocketbook and write down stupid stories so you can tell a stupid story every week. Like this one time he fell over in the mud and then had to clean him. The end.
Oh, if you want a story like that, yesterday he grabbed a chunk of mud
Yeah?
and he put it in the dog's drinking bowl.
Ah, menace.
And then he walked off and he got another clump of mud and put it in the dog's water bowl.
Ah, absolute menace.
Yeah, he's a menace. He's evil. Pure evil.
Nice. Well,
What have you been working on?
I have nothing to really talk about over the last week, I don't think, unless you can remember something that I did and I've forgotten because I'm not very good with time.
I don't remember. I
But
haven't exactly been the most available person the past couple of weeks.
that's okay. But the today I am busy. Today I am driving up to this side of Melbourne to pick up a box of tapes.
Oh,
Nothing interesting, just TV tapes.
it could be.
Could be something interesting on there. And I've got a bid on another $1. I got them for $1, by the way, $1 for a
good.
box.
Good.
And I've got a bid on another box for $1 that actually is interesting stuff, which has another copy of How to Kick Like a Star in it.
Oh.
And a couple other sportsy tapes, but a bunch of cartoons and a
If
couple
only
of...
it came with the ball.
I know, right? I need that.
I found one on eBay ever, and it was like hundreds of dollars.
Hundreds of dollars for the Goalmaster Kick Like a Star ball. There is, however, a soccer version of it.
Oh.
Not by the same company, but like the same idea of a ball where you kick it in the right place.
Yeah.
And that's not worth that much money because it's not out of print. It's still in print. But
Yeah, exactly.
Well, anyway, that's enough quiet rambling. Obviously, don't have any energy or enthusiasm today. Let's get back to the actual what the show's about. Huh? VHS.
Yeah.
Today we're watching a film thingy called Living Melbourne. This is historical archival footage taken from the archives of Australia. The earliest stuff about Melbourne that's survived. I saw this tape about half a year ago on for sale on Gumtree for like $25, something like that. And I'm like, I want the tape, but I didn't want to pay that much for it. And just recently I went back and had another squiz around Gumtree, and I saw that there was a make a best offer button, and I just pressed it on a whole bunch of different things, and I've actually got it. Like I thought maybe it would spark up conversation about, bidding wars and stuff, but instead I picked this up for $5. So
apparently people just want to get rid of their crap.
Yeah, so
It's like some things that people like. It's not Shrek, so no one's gonna buy it.
That's right.
It's not Titanic, so no one's gonna buy it.
I have too many copies of Shrek and Titanic. But the fun thing about the Gumtree people is they're weird to the point where instead of wanting too much money like eBay or just being difficult to work with like Facebook Marketplace, they're just kind of quirky people.
Yeah.
And
there's a reason for that.
This is like the third time that I've gotten something off Gumtree, and instead of delivering it or picking it up from somewhere, I've had to rendezvous with somebody. So I had to like have a meeting place time and whatever and meet them up. And so I drove out to meet her at the rendezvous, and then I suddenly remembered that money exists.
Uh-oh.
Like cash. Like I didn't pay for it online, and then, I don't carry cash around. So I was running a little late, went to the bank, pulled out a $5 note from the bank, and they're like, "Why do you want a $5 note?" I'm like, "None of your business. Give me a $5 note." And she gave me the tape in a little brown paper bag,
Nothing sus.
Nothing sus. And then didn't want the $5, so I actually picked it up for free.
Oh.
So yeah. She said that she tried to donate it to the film archives.
Yeah.
And they already have a copy, so it's not that rare. But
I mean, not necessarily. That just means that they've got a copy. Doesn't mean that like everybody has a copy.
Nobody has a copy except for the Historical Society and us.
I imagine that a lot of that footage is on that guy's device that we went and did the magic video with.
Yeah. Well, actually, it tells you what's on here if you want to read through as we go or now.
Yeah, why not?
What now? Okay, well...
I'll read through it as we go, I guess.
Okay,
once you're up putting the tape in.
Okay, well, one of the coolest things that is on here is one of the movies. There's a movie on here. It's there-ish.
So, right, yeah. I remember reading about that movie. I've seen most of the footage. It's pretty, in pretty gnarly shape.
Well, we have one major problem with this tape is I've been lazy. I haven't actually vetted this, so hopefully it's not porn.
I will imagine if it is, then that's funny. So
and we can just get off air and dump as quick as possible. What's that?
It's what?
Over our faces. That's gone now.
I don't know what that is.
What is that? You got to get rid of that.
Why is that there? What the fuck is
Put
that?
it somewhere else.
What is it though? I want to know what it is.
Oh no!
Why is it?
Right, it's gone.
What?
Ooh, new penalties.
Get out of here.
Individuals, corporations. Are we a corporation? Are we just a...
No. We didn't have an ABN or anything.
Good. Listen to that fuzz. So what do we got first?
We're starting with the 1896 Melbourne Cup,
Nice.
with recently discovered additional footage of Flemington Railway Station.
Recently discovered back in the 90s, I think it was
Motion
published.
pictures have been around for almost 100 years. That's half the period since the white settlement of Australia, and 2/3 of the time since the foundation of Melbourne. Tonight we're going to see some of Melbourne's oldest films. When they were new, audiences were fascinated by the simple novelty of moving images, but today their value chiefly lies in providing a window on the distant past. It's a vivid historical resource which
What about
teachers
movies?
and historians rarely use.
How-to guides.
So we'll trace the first steps of Australian film production in this program, and we'll see the development of cinematic expression, the earliest examples of Australian camera work, of editing, and the advent of the storytelling element in films of fact and films of fiction. None of these examples will be edited or modified in any way. Our only
Ooh.
concession to a modern
Why did he
audience
kick that?
will be the addition of titles before each film. This wasn't a common practice before 1907. So
What does it
most
say?
of the items
Steve
you're about
James.
to see
Steve
have only
James.
recently been identified.
You tell him,
by
Steve
comparing
James.
with original press reports.
Hell yeah.
But first, let's see how this new medium reached Australia in the 1890s, while we were still a collection of British colonies at the end of the world. It's not generally known that the theatrical
Oh,
entrepreneur
the end.
James McLaren brought 5 of these Edison kinetoscope peep show film viewers to
Ooh,
Sydney
peep
and gave
shows.
Australia's first movie show on the 30th of November 1894. That
Was it French
only
ladies
5
taking off their
weeks
clothes?
after Edison's movies had their London premiere. This same set of 5 kinetoscopes were moved to Melbourne for our first view of the movies on the 16th
No
of
apostrophe, this
March,
isn't public, this is my
1894.
house.
Yeah.
They were seen
Not
on
just
the
anyone
telescope
can come to my
viewing
house.
like
That's
this
right.
one. But film projected onto a screen was far more impressive than film viewed in a peep show. And the magician Carl Hertz was the first person in Australia to actually project films in a theatre in
He's got a bat!
1896.
And a skeleton.
Several movie shows followed his advent over the next couple of months, but all of these showed imported films.
Important
The
or
French
imported?
photographic firm of the Lumiere brothers were sending operators all around the world to shoot films for their company library. Demonstrations of their new cinematograph, which was a combined camera
Cinematograph.
and
I
projector,
like that word.
more portable than any machine previously available, were exclusively given by authorised agents of their company for their first 12 months of operation. Lumiere's sole agent for India and Australia was the professional chemist Marius Sestier, who gave successful demonstrations of films at Watson's Hotel in Bombay in July 1896. On his way to
A
Australia,
chemist.
aboard a steamer, Sestier met the Australian theatrical photographer Walter
This is
Barnett,
too much information in
Cecil Beaton of his
such a
day.
short amount of time.
Now,
He's
Barnett
definitely
was an
skimming.
excellent businessman and was on good terms with the theatre manager J.C. Williamson, so he offered to act as Sestier's
Do
business
not.
manager for the duration of his Australian tour. Their first screening was in Sydney in September 1896, and at the end of that month they shot Australia's first movies, short
Ooh.
scenes of Sydney and its harbour. It was easy to import
Hello.
raw film for the cinematograph, and the
Hello.
taking and projecting of film was also simple.
That's mute, I
but
have to shut the machine up.
developing and printing the 60-foot lengths of film was a more difficult proposition. And for some time, Barnett's Sydney Photographic Studio was the only place in Australia with those
Slow
facilities.
down, I want
So
to
they
see
maintained a
the
monopoly on Australian
steamboats.
film production for some time. In the last week of October 1896, they temporarily closed their Sydney film show and came to Melbourne to join J.C. Williamson's musical production Gin Gin at the
Gin
Princess
Gin.
Theatre.
I've been to the
Incident saved from
Princess.
bankruptcy by this show in the economic depression of the early 1890s, and with its Japanese fantasy setting and elaborate mechanical effects, the show was an appropriate vehicle for the appearance of the new novelty Lumiere Motion Pictures.
Novelty
Cestia and Barnett's
cinematics.
arrival in Melbourne coincided with the spring racing season at Flemington. So on Saturday the 31st of October 1896,
Here we go.
they shot films of
Flemington
the
racecourse
AJC Derby
stuffs.
and of the Victorian governor's wife placing a blue ribbon on the winning horse, Newhaven. No copy of any Australian films made up to this time are known to survive, but on the following Tuesday, they returned to Flemington to film the Melbourne Cup.
Specifically a
Australia's
Tuesday.
surviving heritage of film begins on that Tuesday, the 3rd of November 1896, at Flemington Railway Station.
So this is the first ever November Melbourne Cup. We have a full-length Melbourne Cup VHS for November to watch.
This Flemington Station motion
Brought to you by
picture
beer.
must have been a revelation, as the train seemed to move towards the audience, encroaching on their personal space. When the film was developed at Barnett's Sydney studio, the technical standard of this shot was particularly admired.
I thought he said they weren't going to edit it in any way, but he's talking over it.
Well, there probably wasn't exactly sound with it, you know?
I'm okay to just sit quietly and listen to it.
You can tell that this is an Australian
He's
film
just
because
pumping way too
all
much
our
information
Japanese
out at
also
one
filmed
time.
first, leaving
Or maybe
the
I'm just
get
not in the
out
mood to
afterwards.
listen. One of the two.
About 50 years after the non-hanging Quebec Patriots were deported to Australia.
The horse,
Ooh.
Newhaven, fresh from his win of the AJC Derby, with his jockey Harry Gardner and the trainer Wally Higginbotham holding the reins. Barnett directed this film, and you'll see from the look on Wally's face from time to time that he's listening to the photographer's instructions.
Always got to send him
Now,
here.
Lumiere camera film spools were 60 feet long.
Wait,
They
who's
lasted
Wally?
just
Is Wally the
1 minute on
horse?
camera. Cestia had no panning or tilting device on his tripod, and he cranked the film through from this single vantage point. No panning, no close-ups, no editing. Each film was a single photographic statement, although the photographic quality is excellent. Here Barnett tells Wall to take the horse around a second time.
That's conjecture.
Maybe he demanded it,
Hmm.
like angrily.
Maybe they suggested it, and then he's like, yeah, I still got some
View of the
footage
lawns
left.
near the grandstand at Flemington.
True.
It was a perfect day for the Cup, with an estimated crowd of 80,000.
Look at those fancy hats and
Bad for a
parasols.
city with a total population of under 500,000. Melbourne's elite sauntered about in the latest London and Paris fashions. Many people stared at the Lumiere
still do.
machine, never dreaming
they?
that we'd be
Yeah.
staring back at
Have
them
you
mean at the
not-
races?
a century
Huh?
later.
Yeah, this is Melbourne Cup.
Right. This is one guy staring at the camera like, what the fuck are you doing, man?
You said, what is that? Or maybe he thinks it's a still camera. He's like, take a photo of me. Which we still do
He
to
looked
this
more
day.
suspicious. He looked like he was going, what the hell? This guy's walking up going, what is that contraption you have there?
That's exactly what everybody's
Walter
doing. I
Barnett,
love it.
In his grey hat and long frock coat, darting
What?
out from the right of the picture to steer a couple of ladies past Cestia's camera.
Move out of the shot.
He speaks to a lady with a parasol and walks towards the camera like a ham actor. It was
Oh.
the most subtle way of gaining yourself a place in Australian film history.
He's pretending that he was there when he actually was.
Yeah.
His Excellency the Governor of Victoria, Lord Bracy, arrived with his family and attendants to add excitement to the proceedings. A fortnight later, the film
Do we still
premiered
call our Lord
Princess
Governor's
Diana.
Excellency?
The Age reported
I
that
hope
the
not,
orchestra
'cause they're
imitated
not really
the
very
justice of the
excellent,
band
are
of
they?
Flemington by striking up the national anthem.
They really
Audience
should
at
be
the
more
Princess
excellent
Theatre
to
rose
each
to their
other.
feet and cheered
Most
heartily, just as
excellent.
The crowd at the racecourse in the film did. Cestia's first presentation was given.
God save the governor.
Anticipating the talkies by 30
Come here,
minutes.
Arch.
As for Governor Bracy, he walked past
Come
the
on.
camera as if he was a cat on hot bricks.
I don't want you balking at the window. Come here.
The end.
Question mark.
Oh. What?
In the saddling paddock before the Cup, the horses and their owners nervously awaited the call to the barrier. This is another scene where Walter Barnett presaged Alfred Hitchcock by blatantly walking to the centre of the picture and standing in the path of the racehorses.
So this is kind of like a selfie?
I guess so, yeah. The original selfie.
Or maybe he's doing vlogs. Oh, there he goes.
Ah.
That's Barnett on the right with a long grey coat now, pointing to the camera. At 34, Barnett was on the ladder to fame and fortune as a photographer of high repute. Charming in the presence of high society, he could be snobbish and ruthless in business and acquired several professional enemies. He died in wealth and comfort
As opposed to those amateur enemies. Amateur enemies. How does one become a professional enemy?
Like a business enemy.
Oh, not like you put it on your resume and say, I have been an enemy?
You could.
Stares into the camera.
Like if you're an enemy of Hitler, you'd probably put that on your resume, right?
And shouts at the group to wave their hats about.
Professional enemy to all Nazis everywhere. That's pretty good.
Several lengths.
You think he'd get hired?
Maybe.
As you'll see.
Alright, here they come.
Hi, horsies.
I like how he's there filming the cup, but he films more of the people at the cup. It's not that much different to today.
Yeah. But I mean, they did mention that he also can't pan the camera.
Yeah, so you should have set up to see the horses better.
His last Australian film.
I
He ran
mean,
out of raw film stock from France and doesn't seem to have replaced it.
oh.
By August of the following year, the Salvation Army in Melbourne acquired 3 cinematographs and began to shoot
Ooh.
and develop film locally.
Who died and gave them
establishing
that?
Melbourne's first permanent production unit and processing facility.
Who knows?
Their first
Science and
cameraman was
Salvation.
Joseph Perry, a resourceful technician and an excellent photographer. With this unlikely-looking equipment, he shot test films of Melbourne street scenes, of which this is thought to be one of the first.
This is one of those videos that they play in like a museum, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. That's why the cover is so cheap.
That's the site of the Hilton Hotel on your left, in East Melbourne. But in those days it was Clevedon Mansions, the townhouse of Sir Rupert Clarke. This is typical of the Salvation Army's early film tests, which culminated in 1900 with the production of the religious spectacle Soldiers of the Cross. This achievement tends to overshadow their prolific output of documentaries for educational purposes. 50,000 feet of film, an enormous amount, went through their processing plant before September 1901.
Isn't Soldiers of the Cross like one of those Christian death metal bands?
Monday, the 6th
Probably.
of May 1901.
They wouldn't be Christian, though. Like
Major
Lamb of God.
Joseph Perry
Oh.
of the Salvation Army is cranking the camera on the arrival of the paddle steamer Hygeia, conveying the Duke of York,
Well, this Lamb of God are
Duchess,
Christian. I don't fucking
later
know.
King George V and Queen Mary, from their royal
I'm not
yacht
big into
out
that
on the
music.
bay. Paddle steamers
Music
of
with
the type of
godly
Hygeia
repercussions.
dominated bay
Or just
transportation
be loud.
until their demise in the 1930s.
Get headaches.
Stop yelling at me.
Exactly. I didn't do anything to you. Why are you so mad at me?
Walking down the gangway, the Duke and Duchess stepped onto a red carpet, laid the full length of the pier, and they were received by a welcoming committee, including our first Governor-General, Lord Hopetoun, the Marquess of Linlithgow, who you'll see wearing the feathered cap.
I believe that kind of cap is called a macaroni.
Macaroni.
Mm-hmm. With a feather in it.
Other guests were presented,
Feathery
including
macaroni.
Australia's first Prime Minister, Edmund
Ew.
Barton, who's in the distance on the right.
I don't mind some chicken in it. I don't want the feathers.
best chicken for macaroni is the type you get in those little pots.
They were here to open Australia's first
Is
federal
it?
parliament at
Yes.
the exhibition buildings, bringing Australia's colonial days to a close.
I'll just chop up a chicken breast.
That's what it is, but it lasts in the cupboard for years.
Yeah, but
10-year-old chicken in a
I'd
can.
rather hold on to that for the impending apocalypse.
The Duke inspected a Victorian colonial artillery brigade before moving off down the long red carpet leading back to the shore. The government commissioned this film from
The salvos
the
aren't very
Salvation
good at framing.
as a memento of Australia's birth. By
Are you surprised?
1901, the
No.
camera could load
They're
up
not
to
even
6
very good at
minutes of
running op
film for
shops.
these serious
They are the
assignments,
worst ones.
and it could
Although
pan
one of
from
them
side to
keeps
side
stuff
to
for
follow
me.
the action.
I bet that's someone who works there doing
That's
it
right.
and not the actual.
Yeah, because they have to legally throw it in the bin because the head-ups don't want to sell it. But yeah, she puts it around the back for me and says, "Here you go." And then I make a donation to Bric-a-Brac. I just recently got a big bag, and one of them tapes was called Relaxercise. I was contemplating bringing that today.
Relax.
Yeah, oh, you need to relaxercise. You can do it along with them, go.
At the top of the picture, you'll see Point Ormond in the distance.
What's about it's not very relaxing.
You'd be like,
The
oh.
person who's doing it has like a grating voice or something.
Radio transmitters to communicate.
Then you just gotta go ahead and relax.
About 10 days after this film was
Shut up. Love all the hats.
Everybody has a hat.
Towards the end of this pier coverage,
It's not where you're
a view
from,
of the
it's
St.
where your
Helens
hat.
Garden Baths, and a very brief glimpse of the temporary commemorative arch built over the pier. The first of many of these arches built along the Duke's path during this landmark tour.
Don't you love it when the royals come and visit us?
Yeah, everyone starts taking themselves too seriously. Nobody's allowed to have any fun.
I mean, what are they doing
Useless
here anyway?
fucking
They're just
family.
making sure that the locks are still on the gate or what?
Waited under a temporary
Useless. The most
commemorative
useless family in the
built at
fucking
Prince's
world.
Bridge, near the present site of Batman Avenue. Contingents of each of the state colonial militia, soon to be a federated Australian army, escorted the vice-regal carriages. Many of these soldiers had seen action in the recent Boer War.
What kind of action? Oh!
Oh,
Oh! Awesome action! Oh!
extreme action.
What is the Boer War? I don't know.
That was fought in, I believe, near, I'll say,
The royal
Russia?
escorts,
Russia.
each arranged in proper order
They
of
got
rank,
big
I
Boers
actually
there.
remember.
sharply class
Any
lines
wonder
of
they went to
society
war with
in
them.
this period.
What was it in Africa somewhere? I don't know. It's one of the two.
Either way, big piggies.
The first carriage contained Lady Mary Lygon and Sir John
Why do we keep
Mason,
going to war with all these different animals? I mean, the emus here, the boars over there.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I should learn more history.
The second carried Prince Alexander of Teck.
Yeah, why do we hate bush
personally
pigs
to
so
the Duke
much?
during the tour.
I understand the emus. They're evil.
They'll kick you apart.
A third carriage held further colonial administrators.
They'll kick you
and
apart.
military commanders.
As long as they don't form an alliance with the cassowaries, we'll be
All eyes
okay.
On the fourth landau, carrying
I hope
the
they
Duke
don't do
and the
that.
Duchess.
That would be bad.
When they arrived at this alderman's platform, the mayoress of Melbourne, Mrs.
If you add the
Hughes,
magpies into
gave the
that, we're
Duchess
doomed.
a bunch of white roses and ferns.
The Air Force.
mounted
Yes,
in
yes.
locals, an opulent gift.
Yeah,
from
we're
the people
fucked if that ever happened.
municipality of Melbourne.
What they need to do is get an alliance with the magpies for an Air Force, and then some sort of aquatic animal for a navy
Yeah,
as well.
right. Killer whales or something, or sharks.
Nah, seabirds. Albatross.
Albatross riding killer whales. Let's find out where that Boer
Cheers
War
from the
was.
platform
Okay.
Were echoed by the crowd as the royal carriage pulled away.
See what sort of action they saw. Oh.
Yeah, it was in Africa. South Africa.
South African bush pigs.
What the hell war was I thinking of with the Russians?
Uh,
I don't know.
the Cold War.
No.
Posing for official
Because never invade
photographs
Russia
and
in the winter?
biographs on the steps of Government House, Melbourne.
You know, we lost the Boer War
7th
too,
May,
so,
1941. The Duke and Duchess of York are in the centre of the group, and the Governor-General Lord Hopetoun is at the extreme left, with
Oh, that's the
South
first
Australia's
one.
Governor
Hold
Sir
on.
Thomas Playford at the lower
Where's
right,
the second
with the
one?
white beard.
Damn governors being extreme left.
Oh, there. No, we won the second one, so...
No. Piggies thought they had the upper hand, but we came out on top.
Photographer
Yeah,
bustles
in the
down
end.
on the left of the picture,
Alright.
but the VIPs are taking it in their stride.
In the end, British colonialism won. Until it didn't anymore.
You gonna get a new mask?
What?
Sorry, my brain just got bored of the
Back at
Boer
Prince's
War
Bridge
and started
on the
thinking
6th of
about
May.
something else.
Why would I get a new mask?
Australia's
They
largest
got the
military
burritos
parade
back.
prior to the two world wars.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, new masks.
1,508 mounted men, 1,580 horses.
Yeah, let's go.
And 10,000 marching
Let's
in
cancel the episode. Let's go.
Joseph Perry's camera captures a tiny
I want a
shadow
fucking big
of the
burrito
British
right
Empire
now.
It's
pride
only got
base.
like another 30 minutes. It's fine.
You have stuff to do.
Huh?
You said you have stuff to do.
I gotta be there by 3:30.
Oh, okay.
If you really want me to drive you out, get a burrito, and drive you back before I go, I can.
It's fine.
I'm going next Monday. Gonna share it with Sam and get that mask.
Maybe Tori and I will come too.
Cool.
And I will eat the whole thing because I'm fat. We went like last weekend. Yeah, on the weekend we were there and they didn't have it yet.
Thursday
No,
night,
we
So we
went.
missed it by like a couple days.
the royal couple
Let's stop talking about old Melbourne and talk about burritos, because now I gotta tell you that I went on Monday and they didn't have it yet. And
By a single day, then you must have missed it, right?
yeah, absolutely. But I
I'm
got
gonna
a,
message Tori right now.
I got a burrito and so did Sam. And then I drove home afterwards, and then Sam was like, "I'd like another burrito, please." So I had to. They don't deliver out this far.
No.
So not only did I have to drive back in, but I'd run out of money, so I had to ring up the bank to transfer money from our savings account to get it. And they took an hour to transfer. So I was on the phone for an hour, then I drove out to Warn Ponds, got her the frickin' burrito.
Exhibition buildings,
Anyway.
the movie camera couldn't shoot in the poor interior lighting of the opening ceremony.
What are we up to?
Only
Opening
a
ceremony of what?
pessimistic view of the topmost
Try to
royal
get back
flag
on
being
track,
unfurled
brain.
above the building's dome
Federal
served to
Parliament.
preserve the historic moment
Yeah, I
of the
think so.
first opening of Federal Parliament.
Yeah, there
Hey.
you go. We've been on that for a while.
Alright,
now.
we're back on track. Talk about the royals and the soldiers and stuff, I lose interest. Which is kind of like most of what our historical shit is.
A very stormy and dark Friday afternoon, and an
Oh,
it is on.
undisclosed film.
You're right. It
On the
has
far
started.
side of the parade,
God damn it.
the Duke sits on a horse wearing the busby and scarlet tunic of the 7th Royal Fusiliers. Massed military bands led the way past the temporary...
I want them to
pavilion
cross over the
by
ghost
the
pepper
state
with that though.
militia.
Sorry.
Various service
Yeah, what, in
the
military
parade?
also took part.
Yeah.
Bicycles
I like it when they
were
got the
used for
ghost peppers
mechanised
in.
transport before automobiles came on the scene.
I want a lucha mask. You know, let's do it. Let's go get a burrito after this.
Alright.
Contrasting
And I'll have
with the
another one
Fijian
next time,
native
Tori, when I go.
constabulary, shivering in white kilts and shirt sleeves. Away in South Africa, the Boer War dragged on. Only a minor
And
skirmish
on.
compared with
And
1914's
on.
Holocaust. Medical corps in this parade remind us that more troops died of disease than of battle wounds in South Africa.
There we go. He just told us. South Africa.
An ambulance.
An ambulance.
Ambulance. Wee wee wee
The
wee.
gates of Government House in the Melbourne Domain. In May 1901, the Duchess was an attractive young woman of
By the way, that
34.
maybe they have clips
A
of.
little hint of
It's
the
only going to go
stern
for like a
matriarch she would
minute,
become
maybe.
as Queen
There's like
Mary.
none of it that really
The Duke was
survives.
36, the
But we
son
got
of
it
Henry
all.
VII and heir
Unless
to the
more has
British
come
throne.
out since this tape.
From
We've got it
1911
all
to
with
his
someone
death in
talking over top of it.
1936,
Yeah.
He became King George V.
He did?
Ballarat, Monday the 13th of May,
Ooh.
1901. Laying the Boer War Monument's foundation stone in Sturt Street, with Ballarat's aldermen gathered around. In this provincial city in the early 90s, the Salvation Army began their slideshows. When movies came along in 1897, it was a natural progression to adopt this new technology.
Let's see if any more of this come out.
An outbreak of bubonic plague in the port of Brisbane influenced the Duke to depart Melbourne by train. His cancelled naval departure.
So there's 20 minutes of it that
would have
survived today,
disappointed
apparently.
that municipality.
Ooh.
So the Duke travelled to Port Melbourne Station by coach.
Probably
from
not
Government
20
Park
minutes of it on
to
here.
take this special
Probably
train
not.
out on the 16th of May.
That still means that like
1901.
2/3 of it are missing.
Now
No,
we
it's
see all
17
of
minutes
this
long.
in one long sequence taken from a single static camera position. The whole film, in fact, was a series of unconnected views without any narrative thread. But as filmmakers realised that cinema had a storytelling capacity, they evolved away from this simple reproduction of scraps of reality. 4 years later, in 1905, the same Salvation Army film crew made our first...
Isn't it interesting? We've gotten back to scraps of reality.
...for a Port Melbourne biscuit factory.
Now people
Only
just do the
opening
YouTubey
sequence
things
survives,
with just
including
scraps of
traffic
reality
accident
instead
put
of
on film for the
storytelling.
first time in Australia.
Yeah. That and fucking terrible TikToks.
Roll
I
camera,
don't-
take one.
I take.
Oh! Dude just got
Take
fucked
two.
up!
What do you mean, whoops?
Film
That guy's
industry has
probably
always
dead.
been based on
Yeah,
the
that didn't
desire to
tickle.
see our way of life up on the screen.
Whoa!
This sequence was taken to induce
That's going in the new
people
intro.
and their friends to attend Salvation Army
okay.
fundraising screenings at the Port Melbourne Town
When
Hall
I make it,
more than 80
eventually.
years ago. There were just as many clowns and show-off in crowds then, but compulsory education doesn't allow kids of 11 or 12 to begin work in factories anymore. And some of those kids you'll see don't have shoes. Social services were only provided by radical community groups like the Salvos. And here the Salvos are making money in a new and novel way. The beginning of the sponsored documentary film.
Now show what would happen if you did that today. A bunch of people coming out going, "Oi, fuck off, mate! Don't fucking film me!"
The style of filming hasn't progressed much from that royal visit film of 1901. They're still shooting from a single static camera position for the whole 2.5 minutes of the film load in the camera. The sequence is 10 times longer than any modern producer would dare show for fear of boring his audience. A film made in the following year, 1906, would change all of these conventions. Two St Kilda chemists, Millard Johnson and William Gibson, provided technical facilities for the production of a story film by the theatrical firm of the Tate Brothers, the first of many versions of the story of the Kelly Gang. Only a few decaying sections of this 40-minute Kelly film survive today. The one you're about to see was sent into the offices of the magazine Cinema Papers in 1982 by a man who found it on a tip.
Oi, come here.
Found it on the tip of. Oh, as in the rubbish.
Yeah, some of it was
not-
found at the rubbish tip. Before that, they
I haven't
like
heard
a-
them call like the garbage thing a tip for a while. And it's
Yeah,
like,
you're
on the
right.
tip of what?
Vertical shadows betray an outdoor set lit by direct sunlight. This is actually the rear of Johnson and Gibson's chemical works in St Kilda.
It's all broken.
Here, Ned Kelly
Found in
deals
a
out
dump.
beer to his gang while the
That's where
Glenroy
I look for
Hotel
tapes.
staff are held hostage.
One day I'm going to find something good. Not
The
for a
mood
while, though.
suddenly changes as police surround the place and a siege begins. The rippling image shows that the film was caught just in time for copying. All old nitrate-based film eventually decomposes to this dreadful unusable state.
Oh.
The scene of the death of Joe Byrne is totally decomposed.
That's alright. Watch it anyway.
And yet a bunch of it was found in like 2006. So
Police surround the Glenrowan Hotel. Actually, a shack in the then
That means that
rural
this
area of
isn't the
White
whole
Horse
thing
Road,
that we got?
Mexham.
Because this is
Although
90
other
something.
yeah,
accounts
absolutely
give the
not. We do
charters
not have the whole
first
thing.
Heidelberg
As I said, there's like
Melbourne
20
Cup.
minutes of it that exists. Now.
Wherever this might have been, it's probably a massive, unrecognisable brick veneer and bitumen by now.
Hey, what's your
Police
language?
set fire to the hotel. The suspense grows in one of the world's first action feature films.
Now show Nosferatu.
Nah, I want the uncut Metropolis.
Is that not a thing? I think they've got all of it now, don't they?
Yeah, but it goes for like 4 hours
The
or
bravery
something.
of Father
pretty long.
Gibney is commemorated in these scenes of the attempts at rescuing hostages. Written titles were a new innovation in film. Earlier
They played the
movies were
uncut at the
descriptively
Astor once.
announced with lantern slides. Or
If they ever
with
do
a
it again,
live
it'd be nice
spoken
to go.
commentary like the description I gave of the royal visit.
I love
coverage.
silent film, honestly. If they ever do Nosferatu with a band again, I'd like to go to that.
Yeah.
Steve Hart and Dan Kelly shoot each other rather than face capture. A filmmaker's salute to the gallantry of bushrangers, which set up the producers for one of Australia's first film censorship battles. For many years, bushranging films were banned. The fictitious fire, as you can see, only raged in an old apple crate, but in close-up it looked fairly convincing.
Yeah, it does. 4 apples.
Ned's Last Stand was played in Ned's original armour, which was borrowed for the occasion from Sir Rupert Clarke. This Kelly feature was an interesting departure from previous movie newsreels and actualities, but until the 1970s, these fictional films were only a tiny percentage of the film produced locally. Newsreels and documentaries exceeded the footage released in narrative features by a factor of 5 to 1 or more. Most of the really polished Australian productions made in those early days were short, non-fiction efforts. It's very difficult to gain any overview of the Australian film production industry before the First World War, as only about 5% of the prints are known to survive today. We're fortunate to have even this decaying scrap of our original Kelly Gang production as a sample of movie fare from a time when there was no permanent cinema and no film libraries. The storytelling tradition of cinema as we know it today was only just emerging.
Bang.
In the documentary line, just as with narrative fiction films, techniques were becoming more sophisticated by 1910. In that year, the exhibitor
Little
and
shit,
producer
you're ruining my shot.
Spencer and
You
his
know how
Tasmanian
expensive this film
cameraman,
is?
Ernest
Run him
Higgins,
over.
produced a series of documentary films on aspects of everyday life in Melbourne, compiling a lot of their footage into a really excellent film, which premiered at Worth's
Excellent.
Olympia.
It's the second time you said
of
excellent.
November 1910. This is
Should
the
tell you how
oldest
excellent it
complete
is.
documentary on
Marvelous
Melbourne
Melbourne.
surviving today. A panorama of Melbourne from the East
Sydney
Hill
think
Fire
they're all that.
Station with
So much better.
House and the Windsor Hotel
You
in
think
the
I should
distance.
try to search down
Scott's
this
Church,
video of the
back
Sydney
Collins
one?
Street, just coming
What,
into
and so we
view.
can watch videos of prostitutes pooping in the street and
And the Princess
Yeah.
Theatre, where the Melbourne Cup film first screened
Again.
in 1896.
see where the smell originally came from.
I'm pretty sure there is.
A jump cut takes us further north to the exhibition buildings. The
I'm
southern
so
part of
brutal
Fitzroy,
towards Sydney.
and St Vincent's
I
Hospital.
never give him a break. Never will. Richmond, a busy station.
We're looking
What up,
east
Churchy?
across Richmond Station with the Tower of Dimmy's department
Look closely.
store on the extreme top right.
Learn how to make movies
Ernest
for real.
Higgins edited the film so that it began with these long establishing shots, and as you'll see, the pace quickens as we deal with specific buildings and events. The camera has become a storytelling instrument. The shots vary in length, and the point of view is varied. There are high-angle shots, low shots, and a variation of wide...
No, the one time I went to, like...
as the film progresses.
Oh, there you go.
It's not Sydney, it's just another one by the same company.
That's expensive.
Yeah, but he's sentimental.
Fantastic. Everyone in it is dead now. Everyone whose parents were in it probably dead now.
Yeah, this is from 1910, did it say? Yeah,
Yeah.
1910.
So some of the if they're alive, they're very fucking old. No one's getting sentimental
Starting
for
from
this
the
shit.
present art gallery site, we're moving north aboard a cable tram towards Prince's Bridge and Flinders Street.
That's the thing, Churchy. It's
You
all
can see the slot
establishing
between the
shots.
tracks,
That's what we've learned.
where the grip went through to hold the moving
You're lucky
underground
you've
cable.
turned in just as they've decided that they can move the camera while it's filming.
Yeah, they've only just learned how. The fact they couldn't even think to do
Flinders
this,
Street
just put it on the front of a
Station's
tram.
gardens just coming up on the left.
Just get some
Now we're
wheels.
crossing Prince's Bridge with Young and Jackson.
Although they were probably scared about, like, destroying the equipment.
Hey, look, there's the hattery where my hat was made. I'm not kidding. It's that right there on the left. This is a Melbourne's hats thing, which is right by Flinders Street Station, just there.
Here's the intersection of Collins and Swanson Street coming up.
You don't gotta tell me, I can recognize it. Hey, look, an ice truck. Not even once.
Never. It is cool that a lot of the buildings are still there.
Yeah, the set from this movie has not been taken down. Town.
The original
This hasn't
Hobbiton.
changed very much except for the surrounding skyscrapers. A shot
I wonder if
taken
there's any
from
cities that
Flinders
are
Street
just
station
like this,
steps
like just
above the
untouched
view,
from this
were
time.
taken 20 years before the present spires were added to
How many of
St.
them have
Paul's.
haven't given way to like massive apartment buildings and
Well,
office buildings and
St.
shit.
Paul's is still there, but it had to go under big reconstruction about 5 or 6 years ago.
Mm. The PNE. It's been going the whole time.
And now
Yeah, but he
Elizabeth
keeps
Street,
talking over it, so
where
I can't
Allen's is
steal it.
now. A few automobiles were on the road by 1910, but they were only for the wealthy until Henry Ford introduced mass production.
Honk, honk.
Buildings on the right beyond Swanson Street have been demolished to make way for the city square.
Oh, they're all gone now.
F's. We should revisit this one day, but actually go and walk the streets the same way.
Film.
Yeah.
Do a side by side on the tram track.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Wouldn't it be creepy if we did it and people in the same hats and outfits just started walking past in the exact same way?
No, that would not be
Eastern end of
creepy at all.
town in
That would be
Spring Street.
super creepy. Like the exact same movements, it just looks exactly the same. What the
Kids were a
fuck?
cameraman's curse right from the start. Telegraph poles festooned with hundreds
Get
of
outta
wires
here.
were superseded when automatic telephone exchanges came into operation. Eventually, the telephone cables were put underground. This is the site of the Burke Street Mall from Elizabeth Street, looking east, with Parliament House on the hill in the distance.
That wouldn't be a hard shot to re-get.
Kids, get out of it.
Mister, what is this?
From 1901 to 1926, Melbourne was Australia's federal capital. Parliament House from the Windsor Hotel's entrance. Looking across Elizabeth Street in 1910.
And Sydney was all like, "Oh, yeah, but we're good too." No, you're not. Fuck off. They built
A
fucking
view to the
Canberra.
north from the recently built Flinders Street Station. Some of Australia's tallest buildings fronted Elizabeth Street in those Edwardian times. Here's the site of the first opening of Federal Parliament in 1901.
It would be cool if someone made just a like anthology series that is just mundane stories of Melbourne in 1910.
William Street's courts are now almost totally obscured
Completely
by
boring.
high-rise buildings surrounding them.
This is what I do. I'm going to work today.
Fair enough.
After 1927, this became
Like a
state
kid who's just
government
like,
house.
I'm going to go swindle some fools.
Yeah.
And in just a moment, you'll see the governor's luxury car coming into view.
Ooh. Ooh, that's so expensive though. Make offer. $5.
Chauffeur was
Doesn't have
obligatory.
make offer on it. But I've been doing that lately, and I've been getting
Also near
stuff.
Government House, in the Queen Victoria Gardens, just south of Prince's.
The only ones that I see that have that on eBay that I'm interested in are always British, where
Yeah, $100 for
the
shipping.
shipping is so expensive that it's not worth it, even if they like gave it to me for free.
Yeah.
During World War II. The interiors you're about to see were reshot from still photos taken by time
One day we'll
exposure.
get transporter technology.
Movie cameras couldn't
So?
work in
One day we'll get
indoor
transporter
lighting was in
technology.
1910.
No, we won't.
By today's standards, the display techniques employed in McCoy Hall and the Old Art Gallery
One day,
were
we'll,
cluttered
you know,
and hideous.
shipping things will actually be cheap around the world.
Ooh. Ankles.
One day I'll go on a trip to the UK,
And bring home everything.
and I would just bring home
The jigsaw
Bag
puzzle
loads.
display method. Much more than just a rowing competition, the Henley Festival in October 1910 was a sort of floating Moomba, with various private firms producing.
What's a
decorated
Moomba?
boats in
no
competition
fucking
with
idea
each
what a
other.
moomba is. What's a moomba in Kostrelf? You know things. You're smart. If Ape Sentai was here, I'd say one of those two would definitely know.
Hey Google, what's a Moomba?
Here's the definition of Moomba, an annual pre-Lent festival held in Melbourne.
You
Wait,
what?
it's literally a Melbourne thing?
That's
In the
literally
first
a
third
Melbourne
of this
thing.
century, no Melbourne
Pre-Lent
event was quite
festival
so popular
in
as
Melbourne.
Henley,
Thank you,
Cool.
Google.
except
Shout out now.
perhaps The Royal Agricultural
Rad, thanks
Show
Google, I
at
guess.
Flemington Showgrounds, seen here
You're
in
very
September
welcome,
1910.
Bat Prince.
That
Aww.
wasn't me. Shush now.
You're taking
Stop.
the credit for my politeness.
So that these displays of farm machinery and bloodstock.
How have we never heard of this?
'Cause we don't do Lent.
Yeah,
we
but-
don't do pre-Lent.
I suppose. But why is it only in Melbourne then?
What's Lent?
It's a religious thing.
I get that.
Is it the one where they eat only fish or something?
I think you're thinking of lentils.
It's Australia's largest free community festival.
How's this title for sexism?
Huh?
Without television or radio,
It's
sporting events were well
celebrated
attended,
over
and these
4
Edwardian
days,
ladies
incorporating the
work
Labor
off
Day
their
long
aggression
weekend.
here
Rewind.
without raising too many eyebrows.
I want to know what the hell they're on about just then.
Woody. What do you think they're doing?
Yeah, but they said something about sexism. A little bit more. Okay, go. Yeah, that. It's the bungle.
How's this title for sexism?
They're
Without television
barrackers
or
at a
radio,
football match.
sporting events were
I don't get it.
attended, and
'Cause they're-
these Edwardian
they're ladies, I
would
guess.
Work off their aggression here without
Oh,
raising
barrackers.
too many eyebrows.
Fair. Fair enough.
Chewing tobacco there.
You're not allowed to call ladies fair without being sexist?
I have no idea. This was from the 90s.
Yeah, I know, right?
We're so much more woke now, and that was a controversy back
Perhaps
then.
you'd scream also if you saw
Sheesh.
Collingwood or South Melbourne players wearing these togs.
Togs. This is. They're trying to be educational, but they're also very Australian. And I
Oh,
don't
that
know
guy's
what they're
dead.
talking about.
They just killed that guy.
Was that the ref? Oh, that's the All Blacks. Carlton.
It could be Carlton.
It's Carlton versus the
Up
Magpies.
in Kew, along the then unpolluted section of the Yarra, you could spend a restful Sunday
Then
afternoon
unpolluted.
under the red
There's
guns.
no unpolluted sections of the Yarra. It's as bad as the Ankh.
The
It
people of
used to
this
be.
generation had the foresight to preserve this unspoilt bushland as a park, Studley Park.
We got a couple of tapes on the Yarra. Steamboat tapes.
So fucking ridiculous that they were allowed to just pollute this shit and kill it all.
People don't care.
They try to now. Or pretend that they do.
If it gets them to vote,
It really doesn't.
Adjoining the park was Dights Falls at Abbotsford, where the early drovers forded their herds into the paddocks of Kew and Hawthorn.
It's definitely not this nice around this area
Falls are
these
now
days.
almost under the F19 freeway, and they're quite frequently choked with garbage.
That's so sad.
Flinders Street Station, the pride of the Victorian Railways and only 4 years old, on this busy weekday afternoon in 1910.
We have to go to the Moomba Festival next time it's on.
I suppose. We have to do Lent as well.
Seen
Fuck
here
no.
from the side of the present performing
Wait,
arts
what is it?
museum, this three-arched bridge was
Apostrophe,
designed by
what's
the
Lent?
composer Percy Granger's
Is it when
father,
you
John,
let someone
in
have something but only for a small amount of time and they have to give it back
Swan
afterwards?
Basin at the bottom end of Queen Street.
It's when you did it in the
Coastal
past.
steamers berthed
Past
right in the
tense.
city before the Spencer Street Bridge was built in 1928.
I should know. I went to a Catholic primary school, but most of what I learned there is no longer in my brain.
Hey Google, what is Lent?
According to Wikipedia, Lent is a solemn religious observance in the Christian liturgical calendar commemorating the 40 days Jesus spent fasting in the desert and enduring temptation by Satan, according to the Gospels of Matthew, Mark and Luke before beginning his public ministry.
So we gotta not eat and resist the temptation of Satan. Two things that I'm really bad at.
Well, yeah.
Shipping at
Satan didn't
Station
kill many
Pier
people
in
in
October
the Bible. You
1910.
know, God did.
In
Yeah.
those days, the port was our only point of communication with the outside world.
Get out of my shot! Warships just coming in full of soldiers with lovely gaunty music to look up.
We kill people!
At this point, we conclude our tour of early Melbourne on film.
Oh,
The hope that the wealth of
Really?
incidental detail provided
Well,
by
apparently
the
we
magic
get
of motion
some more
pictures
football.
has given
That's
you
all right, then.
real insight into living history.
an invitation.
What you've seen is only a
Oh no,
tiny
maybe this is
part
the
of
end.
the National Film and Sound Archive's Canberra collection.
Canberra
We hope
collection.
that you feel motivated enough to try to see more of it.
I'd love to see more of it if I can find
Cost
more of these
fucking $1
tapes.
million.
A couple of them that are up on eBay, yeah, but if I can get them cheaper. Yeah. Ooh, research, script, narration is all Chris Long.
Thanks, Chris. Wonder if he still does work for him.
Let's look up Chris Long. Anything else interesting at the end of the day? Oh, it's got his information.
From like 30 years ago.
I find a lot of these people, they don't change their information.
Well, that's good at least. It's gotten too bright now.
Oh,
The sun's come out. Ouch, move. Move. Thank you.
apparently he did another one called Living Ballarat.
Ooh. Left Geelong out conveniently. Jerk.
Yeah, we don't have a Living Geelong one. It'd be nice to watch.
Only that guy would give us that footage.
Yeah. Jerk. Guy. Ah,
He had a ton of old Geelong footage.
yeah. Need it. It's
Mm.
annoying.
Mm.
More. Actually interesting. Oh, sorry.
Oh, there is more to talk about? Oh.
We apologize. Next time we'll have something dastardly boring again that we'll have to suffer through. Ah! Yes.
Ah.
Yeah.
Alright, well, anything you want to say to close us out? Anything chat wants to say to close us out?
This Saturday morning I should be watching commercials all morning if you want to tune in for that on your channel.
Commercials are fun.
Yeah, I've got Tapekeeper on to take
Round
us
two.
through round 2. He's celebrating his like 10 millionth hour watched on his YouTube or something
Oh,
like
nice.
that. I don't know. There's a milestone. I can't remember the actual number. But aside from that, yeah, I'm doing the outro, buddy. You always pop up during that.
He knows.
You know it.
He knows what the outro sounds like.
Next
it's the
week we're
playoff
doing
in
absolutely
the NHL.
boring stuff. What?
The playoffs in the NHL starting this week, so there's that.
Oh. Should we do some NHL stuff next week?
If we have any hockey stuff, do we have hockey stuff?
Yeah.
Let's do some hockey.
Yeah, well, okay. Next week we'll do hockey instead of whatever I got planned. If I remember. I'll try to back something up. I'll find something hockey related down in the section. We like input. Input's good. What are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll actually go to the tour ourselves one day.
Yeah, why not?
Get comparative footage. How much of a shithole it's become.
I've got 2 VHS of actual hockey stuff from Tapestry on tape,
yeah.
but we might have something more lame, like an actual tape, not just taped off TV sports stuff. We'll see. We'll see what's around. See what
Sounds
fits
good.
better.
If we end up just doing one of the ones he sent, we may as well just ask him on.
Yeah, why not? And translate for us.
Help us understand what's going on, both language-wise and sport-wise.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah, hell, man. All right, well that'll be it from us. We'll a nice short one today.
Yeah.
We will be back next week.
Yeah, that's usually.
And well, yeah, until we don't anymore. Until we take a break sometime in the near future. Anyway,
No.
bye.